Hello, this is my rig updates since the last one. Every time I think I'm almost done. At any rate, this has both flight and driving updates in it. I'll start with the flight. I picked up a Virpil collective stick and the Hawk grip for it for flying. I'll be using this mostly for the AH-64D Apache helicopter and DCS. I'm looking forward to it. I don't have it mounted on the rig yet. That's atypical for me. Normally I've got something waiting when it gets here, and within a day it's on the rig. I got a bigger change coming. So let me start with what I have changed now, and then I'll explain what's coming. So the first thing I want to cover is the pedal deck. I have completely redesigned this. For the last two iterations, I had a tactile isolated foot plate only. And I had a few people suggest that having the entire pedal deck in motion with that would feel better. And spoiler, it does. But let me finish. Because this thing is inverted, I did testing on this as well. Pressing on the brake hard would flex the springs. I thought by putting the spring up top and down low would keep, I was expecting it to compress and stretch. But with it offset like this, what it does is the spring bends at an angle. And I don't think that's good for it. Plus, it's not being totally rigid. I'm not saying I can feel it 100%, but it bothered me. Plus, during this, I kind of got itchy and I upgraded my pedals too. So the Hissingveld Sprints are now Ultimate Pluses, and I can crank up the pressure on this a lot higher than I can with the Sprint. That brings me to another upgrade. You cannot use that much pressure with the NLR V3 seat mover. You get up past about 70 kilograms, and it will tend to just quit on you mid-race. But that won't be a problem much longer, which is part of the reason that the collective stick isn't mounted. I've had a number of people telling me that I should have a full motion rig by now, and my biggest comment has been that I need it to be mobile so I can run it around in my room here. Put it in the corner when I'm not using it for full scale use, and when we're using the media room to watch movies, which is frequently. So I've mostly just told people, I understand there's limitations with the NLR V3, but it works well enough, and that's all I can get here. Well, D-Box just came out with their Gen 5 system, and I saw pictures of it before the first YouTube videos hit, and I was impressed. It is compact, and it kind of reminds me of when I got the CineCube 2 Pro. Before that, the old CineCubes had the bulky boxes. They were big. There were EMI issues. There were a lot of things that had to be taken care of. And then CineCube came out with this, and it was refined, and it looked like a clean piece of equipment that should bolt to a rig. And I'm not saying the D-Box equipment up till now has looked bad or anything, but they always had large control boxes, that would take up a big chunk of space. There's like 2 of them that you had to get in the bottom of your rig. And now in the Gen 3, I think they dealt with a whole lot of a lot of design to deal with EMI issues and all that other stuff. And the D-Box actuators are very quiet, so I'm not worried about having any actuator whining noises, and I'm not worried about any EMI with them at all. So the Gen 5 has the entire control for each actuator located with the actuator, and all you have in the middle of your rig is a little, like an Ethernet size switch size thing that just takes 4 RJ45 connectors from each of the actuators, and then you have a USB plug and a power plug for it, and that's it. So I can mount that anywhere. I can just put it right in there and I'm done. And the only thing that'll take a little bit is I have to get power running to all 4 corners, because they need power. It doesn't come through an RJ45 connector. So anyway, so that's why I'm waiting off on this guy, because I want to mount this straight to the chassis and not the seat, which I would need it mounted to the seat for flight right now when the seat moves around. All right, so in a nutshell, got this thing suspended. The tactile effects do feel better with the entire pedal deck moving. The ABS effect feels excellent. I'm really surprised at how good that feels. I've got the butt kicker kicking that off, and I can feel it. And usually when you're braking with the ABS going, you don't have your foot on the throttle anyway, so you're really only feeling that anyway, and you've got your heel here and you're pressing and you feel it all moving, and it works. And there's a little bit of vibration that makes it through the chassis to the steering wheel. It sells it. It just feels right. So anyway, so that brings me to the back end. One of the other things I'm looking forward to once I have the D-box mounted is putting seat sliders on my rig. I've always felt that I had to keep the seat centered over the universal joint, the center mass for this chair, so I've not felt like I could slide it around. But once I have the D-box in here, the NLR V3 will be out. I'll be able to apply more pressure to my brake, and I'll be able to put a seat slider on there and not care about where I am over any center of mass. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. The other two updates I've made to my system are a billet aluminum, well, I shouldn't say, I guess so. It was a 1.5-inch square or rectangular piece of 6160 aluminum that I milled on a Bridgeport mill to mount the sequential shifter. It looks prettier, it's polished. It's a lot nicer looking than the profile and brackets and the hodgepodge I had before. Also made a mount for a stream deck in front of my shifter there. And the stream deck has been very helpful. I've got it set up mostly to allow me to toggle through multiple tactile effects very quickly, but I've also got some of the button presses for things like Richard Burns Rally and Dirt Rally and a couple other things on there where they don't map as well. So I've got that set up. Let's see. And then the only other thing I was going to mention at this point had to do with pedal decks in general. So at this point, I've had the Fanatic V3 with a brake performance kit using the red and green cushions. I had the Hussenfeld Sprints for 3 years, and I've got the Ultimate Pluses, and I guess those are some of the most popular pedal sets out there, and people are frequently asking me to compare them. And what I would say is that the Fanatic pedals are simple. They're not very adjustable. The ergonomics work. I used the curved faces, and they pretty much work for everybody, and there's very little setup involved. I felt like the pedals were way too lightweight for me I felt like the clutch and the throttle felt feathered light to me. Now that's a personal thing, but with the strongest springs on both, I just felt like I didn't feel anything, and it just didn't work for me personally. When I got the Sprints allowed me all the adjustability I could ever want. I added the sliding deck so I could go slide the pedals to the side for left foot braking comfort and put them back when I needed to have access to the clutch. And that worked out real well. I had no problems with my Fanatic pedals while I owned them. They ran flawlessly, but I didn't like how they felt in terms of just being too lightweight. And I didn't feel like there was enough motion to modulate with the brake. It was, once again, personal preference. With the Sprints, I felt like I had all the adjustability I needed. I got the brake where I liked it. I got everything else feeling good. I could have as much or as little tension as I wanted, and I was very happy with that. But I did have to make sure I got my angles and geometry right. I had more control over that, unlike the way the Fanatic comes set up, and it's like, that's it. I did have to remill the sliding plate here so I can, here we go, so I can put it into the leftmost position for left foot braking. The things I liked about the Ultimates are that it's all stainless steel, they've got larger pedal faces, so with the Sprints I felt I had to buy the HRS aluminum pedal faces so they were wide enough. And they had nice rounded edges and they felt good. These are good, I'm happy with them, I don't feel like I'm going to need to upgrade those. I also like they're a little longer lever arm, they look a little better, you know, that's aesthetics. I like having the smart control box on the back rather than built into the back of the brake. And the reason that matters to me, it's mostly just for this rig, is because of these quick releases. When you had the brake with the USB coming in sideways behind it, it just left itself wide open for me to nick it and pull it, and I actually did pull it clear, and Husingvelt, to their credit, and they're known for their great support. They still sent me a brand new board, even though it was, you know, obviously my fault that it happened. And not that the pedals ever stopped working at all, but I had knocked that off. I put the new one on, everything was fine, and I've sold those pedals to someone who I think will enjoy them for many years as well. So I like the structure of these. Also, because they don't have the fixed screws in back, they've got a sliding angle adjustment that allows infinite adjustability, and it also doesn't require that you disassemble anything. You just loosen them, adjust, tighten, and you're done. Another thing that the Ultimates have that the Sprints didn't have is the clutch has its own travel adjustment separate from anything else. And on the Ultimate, I think the only way you could reduce the travel was to adjust a setting that increased the strength or the power that it required to move it. But at any rate, I'm very happy with these pedals. I like the dampers on them. I do think they feel better. I don't think they make me any faster, but I like them. So, at any rate, I think that covers things in a nutshell. I can't tell you on pedals where your pain point is. I'm not a big fan of hydraulics personally, not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just that I've got carpet down here, and this is in my media room, and the idea of having a hydraulic reservoir leaking all over the carpet is just something I just don't want to deal with. I also think the dampers work very well on the Husingvelts, and I'm happy with how they feel, so I don't see the point in going in that direction. So that's it for now. You can see I've removed the fairings, the 3D printed fairings. I'm still waiting. I'm hoping in the next week or two I'll see a D-Box Gen 5 show up at my door and I can begin the surgery. So this will be a fun ride. Anyway, I'll talk later.